Stories Unlocked is a podcast for everyone and anyone. Each week, hosts Ari George and Selina Nguyen have open and honest conversations with key personalities aimed to inspire, educate and entertain listeners, acting as a conduit between everyday people and names of individuals we all aspire to be. Listen to our podcast with an open mind as you prepare to take notes, laugh, cry, and feel inspired to be the best version of yourself. This week, our special guest is a hardworking man who brings with him a rich cultural background and a love for Lebanese cuisine. He grew up in a small village in the north of Lebanon, a country that has been plagued by war and conflict for much of its history. But despite the challenges, he was able to escape the hardships of war and start a new life in Australia. This has had a profound impact in influencing his entrepreneurial mindset and innovative business endeavours. With over 20 years of experience within the business world, he's always up for a good challenge. So sit back and relax as we delve into the captivating story of the man himself, John Gebran.
And we are live. John Gebran, thank you for coming out. It's a pleasure to have you on. We actually had yourself requested to come on by a few individuals. Everyone kind of seems to want to know your story, so thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Ari, for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. Tell us, growing up, as far as you can remember, tell us how was it growing up?
Growing up in a little village north of Lebanon, we remember beautiful days, amazing nature. Lebanon childhood, shoveling your way to school through the snow, having the holiday season, waiting for all your relatives to come and visit from the cities. We actually lived in the village all year round. It was hardship, but we didn't know about it. We were kids. We just created our own little environment and played and just lived life to the max. It was amazing. Yeah, really nice living in the village. We grew up as a very tight-knit family. Lost Dad when I was 6 through travels. He died on a plane with pneumonia. Ended up having to travel to Australia with my mother and 7 siblings, and it was It was during the war, when the war broke out. Yeah.
So tell us what exactly happened. How old were you when you made that move over to Australia? Tell us about it. That would be a pivotal moment in your life.
We started travelling at my age of 9 years old. We had to catch a boat to Cyprus because the embassy was there. As you imagine, in the war, there's no embassies, so we had to go by ship through Juni and to get to Cyprus. It was a rough time. It was winter, rough seas. It was pretty horrible.
Wow. And we talk about yourself moving, jumping on a boat to Cyprus. Tell us what was going on in your family then. What part of Lebanon was this all happening in? Tell us about that.
The war broke up in the cities of Lebanon. We had to make our way through the ruggedness of the war, I guess. We went on the boat. We got to Cyprus. Mum rented a house, tried to get the embassy applications through the embassy and everything else to go through. Then we had to travel back to Lebanon, then back to Cyprus again, then back to Lebanon before we've been granted visas. This all happened within 2 years.
Wow.
By the time I got to Australia, I was 11 years old. Not a word of English, hardly any education because we're probably 2 or 3 years with no schooling. It was tough, but I guess makes a better man out of you. The harder it is, the better you become.
No doubt, so much adversity with that. And, you're 9 years old and you're virtually the man of the house at that time. And tell us, you had a lot of fear within you, or were you just kind of young and just going with the flow? How close did you get to all the action
Look, definitely. We were young. We feared, obviously, going through. We've never actually been down to the cities until we actually left to come to Cyprus or to come to Australia. All our life was in the village. That's all I ever remember. Coming to the city, it's like being an alien in another country. Like it's just like unbelievable. But coming to Australia was a very, very interesting. No English, no education. They threw us in a special English school. They taught you English, which was fantastic. Not that we were there for long. Then they threw us in high school. By the age of 15, 16, I left school. Again, still not much education. Went into the workforce. When we landed here, this is a bit of a funny story. Not a funny story, but a tough story. We had to get jobs. No matter how old you are, we had to work and help mum and try and achieve that everyday household that people have and help mum. No matter whether you made $1 or $2 or $5, you just had to come home and give it to mum, and mum saved it and raised us. And it was superwoman, my mother. It's just unbelievable. And we all lived. I sold newspaper, my very first job, paper boy. They probably don't exist anymore. And you walk around punch bowl, blowing the whistle, trying to sell some paper for the news agency. And someone would come out of the front door on a Saturday morning, Sydney Morning Herald, mate. And I'd go, what does he want? So I'd go and pick up every single bit of paper, put it on my hand, and I'd walk up to him and I said, there you go, sir, which one do you want? Like, literally out of sign language, not verbal.
Wow.
So he put 20 cents in my palm, take the paper he wants, and off I go again. And I sold paper for 2 days like that. Yeah.
And how old were you? So you've arrived in Australia, and was it to Punch Bowl?
You
came out.
Punch Bowl, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And how old were you when you got your first job?
I was literally 3 months into the country. I started work as a paper boy, and it went from there to KFC, working for KFC. It's just non-stop during schooling, during any time you just had to get a job. You had to make ends meet, I guess.
And coming here, did you make friends? What were you kind of interested in? Growing up. I mean, it couldn't have been all work and all school. Were you into sport? To tell us about all that.
Look, I did what the neighbour's son did. I became friends with him. If he played soccer, I played soccer. If he played football, I tagged along. We had our skateboards, and we just run around shopping centres on our skateboards. We were good boys, and we just sort of, all we did was we lived to work, basically. And I left school at year 10, not having a trade. It was very hard times in the 80s in Australia. Couldn't get a job anywhere other than little bits and pieces here and there. It was a service station across the road. We used to fill up petrol for people. This is before the self-serve used to come in. And we worked in anything and everything, I guess. It wasn't easy. And then when I wanted to get into a trade, no one would give me a start. I wanted to become a panel beater. Loved cars, loved working with my hands. So I just went door knocking, no one would give me a job. And then I offered myself to a bloke and I said, listen, mate, I'll work for nothing. Just allow me to be in your panel shop. Let me work, let me help you. I don't want no money. And I didn't have a car, couldn't drive. I was too young. So I'd catch a bus every day, go and come back, and worked 5 days a week. Built a little bit of experience, went to the next bloke and I said, mate, I'll work anytime, 7 days a week if you want. Pay me whatever you want. $80 a week, no problem. It's something, it's good. Keep going until I get some more experience. By the time I was a second year, I was getting a fourth year wage. I became so good at it because when you're hungry and you want hunger for success, you succeed. And it's very, very important that you chase your dream. That's what life is all about.
There you go. And you're obviously, again, working multiple jobs, very hungry, hustling. Do you think coming from war-torn Lebanon, your experience had an impact of coming here and impacting that hunger?
Most definitely, Ari. Yeah, definitely. You've maybe I might have skipped a little bit. When I was a kid, Dad died. We had to go out and work. And when they pruned the trees and all that sort of stuff, we started it at the age of 7 years old. We'd go pick up the sticks that are under the trees and things like that. It's heartbreaking to some people, but to us it was the way of life. That's what we had to do to survive. There's no benefits from where I come from. Zero benefits. And what you grow, you eat. What you don't grow, you go out and you source from nature. And that's probably the best experience one can ever have. It's a natural experience. It's something that it's grown within you. And you use it. You use it later on in life, which is fantastic. It's something that it's a survival tool, I guess.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So your panel beating, how old were you then?
I was 16, 17 when I started panel beating, yeah.
Sure. So you're 16, 17, you're working for minimal wage, panel beating. Tell us, where'd that lead you on to?
I kept jumping jobs for more money. When you become good at what you do, people pay you overs to have you. By the age of fourth year, I used to work day for a boss and night for myself at home, fixing up things for people and trying to earn a little bit extra money, I guess. By then, at the age of 20, I was a fourth year apprentice on my way out into a tradesman. We had saved enough money to buy our own little panel shop from a chap in Greenacre, which we bought. My brother was a mechanic, I was a panel beater, and the younger brother was also a panel beater upcoming. So we ended up buying this little panel shop in Greenacre and we started working in cars. And it was so difficult for a 20-year-old for people to trust.
Yeah.
So if you say a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old rocked up with a damaged car, he's talking to a young kid like, what's 20 years old?
Yeah.
I looked so young and people wouldn't believe me that I was the boss. I'm running this panel shop. So I lost a lot of business. So I started thinking to myself, what do I have to do to make these guys trust me?
Yes.
So I grew a mustache. And ever since then, the people think, okay, this guy seems to know what he's talking about.
Very good. I wish I could do the same.
But it was quite fascinating how things work out sometimes.
And we're talking 1980s, out in Punch Bowl.
Greenacre, yeah.
Greenacre. Tell us, was it Aussies? Was it Lebanese? Was it what culture was it?
No, there was a lot of Australians and a lot of ethnic sort of Italians, Greeks, Lebanese. Yeah, definitely.
And how accepting, were the Australians towards? I mean, we're talking about a 20-year-old person who's come from war-torn Lebanon. How was it back in the 1980s?
Schooling was super tough. We got bullied in a big way. It wasn't very pleasant at all. Teachers made fun of you. Kids made fun of you. Couldn't speak English. Wog was the main word on the menu, I guess. We didn't understand much, but we had other Lebanese kids. They used to translate to us what's going on. It was pretty ugly. But we got picked on. We got bullied, as I said. And, But life goes on, you know, you just move on and stand up, dust yourself, and off you go again.
No doubt. I'm hearing a lot of character building, you know, through all these years. And as a panel beater, what was your kind of clientele there? Was it just like that Lebanese that would stick, or would it be everybody?
No, we did some companies, a lot of company cars back then. We did private work, we did insurance work, we did a lot of different work. Yeah, I was in it for about 6 or 7 years. I didn't like it that much, to be honest. I enjoyed working on cars, but I just didn't like the industry, and it just gotten harder and harder. And I just wanted to go and excel. I couldn't find myself. I was like a V8 spinning in mud. I just needed to go, and I wasn't growing. I wanted to make some money. I was hungry. I was super hungry. Like, we were given nothing. Made in the sense where if I want something, I have to go get it myself. No one brought me anything on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Not just me, my siblings, all of us. So basically, we worked for what we have, and it's a good feeling, Ari. It's a fantastic feeling to be able to achieve, to reach out and say, I've got that.
No doubt, and doing it all yourself. So, at what year did you kind of finish? How old were you when you finished up in the panel beating side of things?
I was in my probably 32 or 33. Went on to building childcare centres and
Wow.
Car yards. Went into car yards, different style of work with cars, and then, you know, visited Lebanon for the first time after I left Lebanon 20 years later. So I was at the age of 30. I went to Lebanon. I was super. How can I say? I've gone from being not a word of English to being super Aussie minded. Couldn't listen to Lebanese music. All my partners were Australians, and I lived the Aussie style life. And by the time I visited Lebanon, to be when I went to Lebanon for the first time, I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the music. I fell in love with everything. Like, to me, was wow. You leave it. You left it when you were a young kid. Everything was so, and then you go back there. It's just the emotions just really open up, and I had to. It was something to drive me to go back to Lebanon. To be quite honest with you, was my father. I kept dreaming of my father, and I just needed to go visit his burial. And by the time when I went there and I did what I did, I visited the burial, and I was quite relieved. I started experiencing, the food, the culture, and everything else. I came back to Australia, and I thought to myself, I got to do it. I got to do a Lebanese restaurant.
Wow.
The Lebanese food, the variety of the food, the village food, the authentic food, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it did. I shouldn't say that. It did maybe, but not to the extent to what I have done today.
And whilst we're there, you've gone to Lebanon. You've been inspired. You've got all that those emotions. They're overwhelming. Did you have any experience in hospitality? Did you have any experience in, or was it cooking something that you love doing? Tell us about that pre going to Lebanon.
As a profession, absolutely zero. Nothing. The only thing I enjoyed doing is helping Mum scale the fish, stir the pot, things like that. You know, chopping maybe a bit of onion or tomato or whatever it may be in the kitchen, giving her a hand. But I always found myself as a kid in the kitchen with Mum for some reason.
Yeah.
Not realising the passion you have for food till later on in life. I just thought, kitchen work was for women at a younger age. So you didn't sort of push yourself towards it, and you didn't have anybody to guide you through.
Yes.
So, I didn't have zero experience when it came to restaurants. The only experience I've had is probably dining in restaurants over so many years. And I had a friend of mine who owns a very successful restaurant, and I sat with him all these years, week in, week out, watching what he was doing. I was enjoying watching him. I thought, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah. But having that, you know, I could understand that your mum would have been working quite hard all those years, getting to Australia and so on, to also support you guys. And again, was it just yourself? How many siblings did you have? Sorry.
No, we're Mum came with 5.
Okay.
We're 8.
Okay.
One was here already. She's the one who brought us out. And
Sure.
2 were left in Lebanon.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, but she had 8. She brought 5 siblings under the one roof. So we lived in a little 2-bedroom unit in Punchbowl. And we all had to go out and do something and work and find something to do.
Of course.
To raise some funds to survive every week, yeah.
And with your mum, was it she would just cook whenever she could, once or twice a week after work, or was it something that, because I understand, Greek background myself, cooking's a big thing. The homemade cooking from...
We knew nothing else but home cooking.
So that was, how often would your mum?
Oh, daily.
Daily?
Oh, 100%.
On top of all the work?
100%. Mum could not... How was she going to feed so many mouths?
Yes.
At a budget that doesn't exist these days. You know?
And it was always that Lebanese culture.
Oh,
cooking.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's more the casserole style, where not many people do that in restaurants. We have different types of cuisines. So the casserole style is more from families and sharing, all that sort of stuff. And then you got the mezza style and, you know, the upmarket Lebanese.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Now that's beautiful. So you're back from Lebanon, and you've been introduced to someone, or you've met someone in the hospitality world that's kind of...
No, the friend of mine who I've been sitting with for 10 years, you know, he ran restaurants, and you know, I'd go have lunch with him every now and then, and I just picked up the industry. But then I really wanted to do some kind of I was too scared to do a whole restaurant as such and open up a big operation. So I wanted to do like a street food style restaurant, like a little sit down, but more takeaway, more easy stuff to make and just sell. Then I went to find a shop in my area, and I found a little place, and I thought, okay, how do I get through to this guy? Who owns it? Where do I start? This is in 2020 or 2021. So somehow I found who owns the building, and I said to the bloke, I said, look, you know, you got an empty shop, would you sell it to me? He goes, son, I built these with my father. He was about 7 years old. I'll never forget him, Ron Swain. He's a gentleman. God bless him. I don't know if he's still around or not. But anyway, he said, son, I built these with my old man 55 years ago, and he was like 70. I said, okay, sell them to me. He goes, I own 5 shops. I said, 5? I said, okay, I'll buy the 5. And had nothing to my name. I just chucked I had my house, but it was a big call.
Massive.
So
And we're talking, is this the Mount Lewis?
yeah, Mount Lewis, yeah, the 5 shops. So anyway, he goes, let me think about it. He come back to me and he says, okay, after about 3 months, he goes, I've thought of it. And he had an envelope in his hand. And I said, he goes, since I've spoken to you, one of the tenants approached me. But because you spoke to me first and I like your drive, I like to offer it to you first, although they offered me probably $200,000 more.
That's rare.
Super rare. That's why I'm saying to you earlier when I said he's a gentleman, that's why I meant he's a gentleman, because he kept his word, and he, you know, you don't find people like that. So he came to me with an envelope and he goes, before I give you this, I want $10,000 more than what the actual valuation says to give to the agent who's looking after it. This is how humble this guy is. He's such a nice guy. So I opened it and it was 200,000 less than what the lady offered him. And he shook my hand and I had to go find the funds. And yeah, it's a beautiful story. And that's when I thought, okay, now that I've got 5 shops, I can do a restaurant.
That's crazy because I'm hearing you've gone from panel beating and then you went into construction of childcare centres and now hospitality. Now jumping from industry to industry, did you not have fear of going into the unknown?
Ari, fear didn't exist in my lifestyle, in my world. When you come with nothing, you're not afraid to jump in the deep because you need to get across. And I did not fear anything when it came to business. When it came to business, I've done so many crazy things that we'll be here all night trying to tell you what they are. But no, I don't fear. And even till today, I still do things and just take on more than I can probably chew, but I like it. I love the pressure. I love the drive.
So here we are. You've just agreed to take 5 buildings, shops in Mount Lewis.
Correct.
You've got to go fight. What was your next move?
My next move, I did my calcs that I can rent 4 and occupy 1.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, if the 4 and what my little childcare business can pay for the mortgage, I can build this little business slowly. This is how my mind ticked. And that's exactly what I did. So it took me about 10 months to get it through council because I had a neighbour who didn't really want me there. But we fought through, we battled on, and we got it across. When we opened, we got smashed with people. Like literally, an opening was so difficult. I delayed and delayed and delayed. I was so concerned about being bombarded because of the talk out there about it. And back then in 2001, there wasn't this social media. There wasn't the things that are today that you can boost off a restaurant just with a click of a finger. You know, it was radio or newspaper and a word of mouth. So I banked on the word of mouth.
Yeah. I've known you for a number of years. And one thing that I do pick up about yourself is there's a gift of the gab when it comes to John Gebran. Everyone knows John Gebran. And I'm guessing that a lot of people already knew you in the area before you've opened, which is that right?
It is right, Ari, because I was raised in Punchbowl, moved to Bankstown, Greenacre, and I've been within 5 kilometre radius from the day I come to Australia. And my business was in Greenacre, the panel shop, and then the childcare centre was in Greenacre and Punchbowl. And I always did things that are different from everyone else. So I was always the talk of the town, if you like, or the community. Yeah, I built a name over the years. Yeah, definitely. The gift of the gap, I guess, it came naturally in the sense where I did the right thing by people. You know, I'm not a salesman as such. It just comes naturally from inside. You don't con people. You don't try and be somebody you're not. And when you be yourself, people respect you.
No doubt. And I can really relate to what you're saying. I see the way you operate your venue. You know, you walk in, every single table knows you. It's amazing. But so what year is it? It's the grand opening of Gebran, and is that what you've called it?
Yeah.
Where does this name Gebran come from?
Gebran is one. It's my surname, of course, and everyone should be proud of their name. Gebran is also a very famous poet. His name is Gebran Khalil Gebran, who wrote a lot of poetry, and he was very well known in Lebanon. And also he has he's long gone now, but they got a museum for him. You can go visit. And he was very well known in the States, and he died in the States, I believe. So I thought, what better name than Gebran? And it's not a very common Lebanese name. There's only a few families that I know that are called Gebran, and they say they're all linked. It's all the one um, root,
Beautiful.
same tree.
And a lot of people know, kind of Gebran is today, and we'll get into that. But when you opened Gebran, was it how it looks today? Tell us, how many did it seat? Tell us about this whole thing.
Oh dear, Gebran was nothing like what it is today. Maybe 50% of it, I guess. But yeah, we started off with a little kitchen where the bar is, and tiny little place, and but I was quite content to achieve such a restaurant for the first time in my life, I guess. But from there we started growing a little bit here and there, and extending and upgrading, if you like. And you have to with restaurants; you always have to upgrade.
Of course. And was your mum involved in any of this? Tell us about that.
Yeah, my mother, my sisters, a lot of family. I had one chef, but he didn't know a great deal of Lebanese cuisine. But then I was desperate to get someone in there, and my sisters and my mother and a few ladies from home, which I employed at the time, and they made it work. And I knew a fair bit, so I went in the kitchen at times and did what we had to do. Yeah, it was quite good.
And yourself in the kitchen, what are you doing in the kitchen?
Our food can be different from the north to the south. I serve Lebanese cuisine to the way I grew up with it. And this is how I want it, because this is how I remember it. And obviously, people are liking my style of Lebanese cuisine. I'm not saying it changes dramatically, but it does change a little bit from north and south. No difference to probably Greek food or Italian food, or look, it was banked on housewives, mamas from home. My mother, my sisters, and a couple of ladies used to sit down and make all the little pastries on a Monday, which we used to close initially. And they used to sit down and make them all by hand. Until today, we're still doing exactly the same thing. Nothing's changed.
From a food service perspective, you're serving hundreds of people. How do you commercialize these tedious Lebanese dishes? I know you do all those little dolmades and the little intricate type dishes. How do you keep up?
Ari, look, we still, like as I said to you, we still hand make everything.
Wow.
Even the vine leaves, they still hand roll them. Cabbage leaves, the little kibbe, the little sambusek, all that little stuff. It's still handmade. The only thing difference is that she's got a dough machine that makes the pastry, for example, because when you make it at such a volume, but then she gathers all the staff one morning, 4 or 5 hours. They'll do 500 of each, and I like everything done by hand. As soon as you introduce machinery, it just throws it out a little bit. I won't like it. If I don't eat it, I don't feed it. That's my motto, and it has to be right.
Very good. And tell us, after a year of opening, where were you at with Gebran? How was it looking?
Look, it started off at the top like every restaurant, I guess. And back in the days, it's the locals who came to you first. The first 3 months, we were bombarded, and then it just sort of took a dive a little bit, and then before you know it, by the end of the year, it's just started coming back and people saying, "Oh, my mate lives down the road. He told us about it. We're from Campbelltown. This guy," and it just went on and on and on, and it just came from everywhere, and it's just started building up from there, word of mouth. Before you know it, 22 years later, we're there. We're a household name. second generation feeding. You know, you've got kids who've got christened there now. They're coming with their girlfriends and boyfriends and having their feed and enjoying their lunches or dinners. Unbelievable. It's overwhelming.
Beautiful. And you've kept that authenticity so many years later. No, very good. And so tell us about Gebran. Where is it right now?
Gebran, we are basically now expanding to different cuisines. Gebran is basically the stump, if you like, and then we're branching off to. We've opened recently a Japanese during the pandemic when everyone was closing down. I was renovating to open up a Japanese restaurant. You talk about fear, zero fear. You know, the world's collapsing with coronavirus and everything else, and I'm renovating a restaurant, which is, we opened up the Japanese as well. We serve it with Gebran. So you can sit at Gebran and you can order Japanese or Lebanese. Soon enough, next couple of months, we're hoping to open up Padrino. Padrino is an Italian restaurant as well. Another little boutique restaurant. It's going to be on the other side of Gebran. So again, you'll be able to order Lebanese, Japanese, Italian, and the reason behind all of that, Ari, is because we have such a huge cult following that I don't want people to be bored of my food, and I want people to come in 2, 3, 4 times a week and having to order different cuisines and different foods all the time. Not be bored and not having to travel and not having to, if they're comfortable there, let them be there.
No doubt. And I really get that feeling that the food you produce is a reflection of your fearless personality of going from culture to culture. If we rewind back 2 years ago when I first met you, I remember I met you, I think just before COVID, and I sat down with you and I said, you're looking to market your Lebanese restaurant, and you said, I've got Japanese and Italian. And I remember I laughed. I said, so you're Lebanese doing the Japanese, and you went, yes. Is there anything wrong with that? But now I'm hearing this whole life. It's all making sense. In the amount of adversity you've overcome, and the fearlessness in all the decision making you've had throughout your life. It really, really is amazing. And looking back on your life, if there's one piece of advice you could give 5-year-old little John Gebran, what would it be?
Make it happen. Follow your dream. Follow your passion and make it happen. And nothing's impossible. Everything's possible. And if I could come from where we were born and how we come out here to be where I am today, I don't look at it as an achievement. I look at it as a way of life. That's my life story. That's the way I did things. But I think everybody must follow their dream and make their dream come true. It's not easy. Nothing's easy, but it is possible.
Sure. And that is beautiful. You've always worked quite hard. You've made a lot of things happen. But what is your definition of success?
Look after the people who look after you. To be quite honest with you, Ari, as I said, I've been there for 22 years, and 22 years I've had probably one lady, her name is Wafa. She's my head chef. And then there's other people who came with her, and they've been there for many, many years. Like I'm talking about 15 years, 16 years. I have a lot of long-term staff. And my head chef is the backbone of my business. She's the strength, and the women beside her as well. And they're unbelievable. They're the ones who actually helped me build this brand. And the reason why people ask me, why don't you come and open up in Wollongong, open up in, you know why? I can't replicate it. You just can't replicate a person. You might get him looking very close or whatever, but you can't replicate everything. The way he moves his hands, the way he does things, it's not possible. So the reason why I don't do what I've done, and I'm letting out my little secrets here, and I branch out to other cuisines, is because it's easier to do Italian, although I'm not Italian, or Japanese, than it is doing another Gebran. Because what would destroy me is when people go to my other Gebran and say it's not the same as this. And that's something I don't like to do.
Really does feel like it's more about the passion over the money.
It really is. That's exactly what it is. It's I'm there every day. If I'm not there every day, I'm somewhere else doing something to do with my business. And as you're probably aware of, we've just taken on a winery, and we're hoping to do another cuisine there and take it to another town where we're going to do something nice again and show the people there what it's all about. And, we're always chasing different weird and wonderful stuff, I guess.
No doubt about it. It really does feel, you're showing me a bit of a project about an hour ago about what you're doing. You've got a knack for bringing your culture in Lebanon back to Australia. Why do you think you've got so much of a drive to do that? I mean, anybody who's been to Gebran understands that they get that nostalgia. They walk into that back room, you look around, it's like no other. That's the comments that I get from anyone that goes there. Why do you feel so much you want to bring that same feel?
It annoys me to see our food being twisted. Okay, I mean, some people won't like what I'm about to say. And I really
let it out. These are raw conversations. Let it out.
And it doesn't bother me, and I really don't care, to be honest, what they think. I will pour myself another drink.
Yeah, I like that. You come in style. You come in style with your scotch. I don't think I've ever seen you without a
whiskey in my hand. Though.
Is that the choice of whiskey too?
It is, yeah. It's a Tasmanian whiskey from a mate of mine makes it. Yeah. When they want to modernise something and they want to look, it might work to the people who don't understand the cuisine.
Yeah.
So be it. I opened Gebran in the capital city of the Lebanese community. Do you agree?
Agreed.
Punchbowl, Bankstown, Mount Lewis, this is like the hub. If I can satisfy all these Lebanese born here in Lebanese with their parents who migrated to Australia and mamas and then if I got $1 for every time I hear I will only eat this dish from my mum or you only, I won't eat it anywhere else, I'll be a millionaire. Again, it's not about money, and it doesn't bother me in any shape or form. I want to put the meal on the table the way it was made for me when I was a kid, the way I remember it. And Gebran banks on food that doesn't exist anymore in people's homes. All the offal, all the tripe, all the crazy things that people think, ooh, but when they come in and they look at it and they taste it, it just doesn't. Like we make a pot of tripe, within first sit down it's gone. And people say, why don't you always have it on the menu? Because I want you to get hungry for it. I want you to come and enjoy it. If it's on the menu every day, and it's not something easy to do, it's super difficult to do. Very time consuming, and it takes hours to cook. But you tend to enjoy it more when you come in and you think, oh wow, it's on the menu today. things like that. And I don't like to twist the food in any shape or form. We just like to keep it as consistent as possible. And this is where we get our what's the word? When you're always consistent and
It's your DNA.
Yeah, exactly. So you come in and have the same hummus from 20 years ago till today. It's still the same, for example.
And 10 years from now, Gebran, what's it look like?
Solid. It's not going nowhere.
Not going nowhere.
No way. No.
Beautiful.
There's John Gebran Jr. He's around as well. So he's now looking after the winery and growing. I got beautiful staff, as I said. It's my chefs love working there, and all my staff. It's just unbelievable. We're not going anywhere. I'm happy to rock up and have a meal, have a drink, say hello to all my beautiful people.
That's beautiful, and it's been a really amazing chat. In this story, you've overcome so much adversity from war-torn Lebanon. I'm sure there was a lot more stories that went into when you made that hop to Australia. Those experiences that you had, arriving to Australia, that hunger, and having nothing, and in working hard and creating something off that. It's absolutely beautiful. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? Because I know you've been very humble on this podcast. I know you've done a lot more. And where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? What's the 10-year goal, if there's a goal?
I like to keep going as long as I can. I'm not one to say, right, I want to retire at this age. Retirement doesn't fit in anyway. So I would like just to overlook everything. The aim is to be able to tackle new goals, find new journeys, and keep going.
Well, that fearlessness in you sounds like it really does live on.
Definitely. I might look to be honest with you. I would like to get my little Arak distillery going.
Again, that's the Lebanon DNA.
Yeah, it's something I don't think anyone's ever taken. Now we're fully licensed to manufacture. We're hoping to go to production soon. Branding, Ara Gebran. Again, that's something, taking the brand to the next level. It's quite interesting. We have a beautiful, amazing produce here. The winery, Arak, is based on grapes, and we have a beautiful winery called Kingsdale. That's now up and coming, and we're looking at doing, restaurants, function center, distillery, a lot of different things on there, cabins, accommodation. So we're hoping that we'll take the Lebanese out of Bankstown and give them more. Not just the Lebanese out of Bankstown, but anybody and everybody who's a Gebran who likes to enjoy the what we do, to come out and share with us what we're about to do over at Kingsdale, which is Goulburn municipality. Yeah.
And from what I can see, when you say for the people to come out and share and have a bite to eat, what I really feel with what you've built is you've not just built customers. It's like a cult following. The way they talk about you, the way they talk about your food, your venue, you've hit the heartstrings. You've done something that not many other venues.
Well, Larry, that's what it's all about. It's not when you're in hospitality, you don't do things for yourself. You do things for others. You do things for people to come and enjoy it, and you're supposed to be the entertainer. You're the one who people come to me, no matter what mood I'm in, I have to put on a beautiful face, a happy face. People coming out to spend money with you, they want to have a good time. They want to be able to kick back, enjoy, relax, see the owner coming around and saying hello to them. Mate, everybody loves that. And till today, I still enjoy it. And I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can. I love touching base with my clientele and my beautiful people who come over. And I want to take them to the next level. Go, bring your family, come out, have a look at the animals we got, have a look around, enjoy the day. It's not too far, which is good. Goulburn's not hours, like it's probably an hour and 50 minutes. But it's a good day trip, things like that. I'm not trying to market it. I'm just trying to tell you what we're doing. But we have big dreams for it, and we're hoping to take that dream to where I want it to be.
There you go. Now to wrap things up, again, such a pivotal moment in your story. Was coming from that war-torn Lebanon, and do you think you would have been the same person you are today if you just grew up in today's society in Australia, being born here? You think you'd be that same person? You think you'd have that same personality, or what would be different?
Look, I think we would be the same because the upbringing was there, the foundation was there. Mum did such an amazing job raising us, being a widow, and raising a beautiful family and siblings, and we're all still super tight knit. We still gather around her. She's 93 years old. We still gather around her. God bless her. And we share beautiful moments. And yeah, I think nothing would have changed. If you grow within a family like that, you're a good person. You respect the family lifestyle and the families, and it's just something you can't take away from somebody, But to answer your question, yeah, I think we would be where we are today and who we are today. Yeah, definitely.
It is absolutely beautiful. Well, that was an amazing chat. Once again, the Scotch is great. Thank you. Brandon Custard. What is it? Keswick?
Keswick. Cheers, mate.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again. And, you can, for those listening, if you want to know more about Gebran, the location is exactly
175 Wattle Street, Mount Lewis.
Beautiful. And you can find them on Instagram, Gebran Lebanese Cuisine. You check them out. It's, how do you say it? It's the real McCoy. How do you say it? What's the saying? The McCoy?
The real McCoy.
The real McCoy.
Definitely.
It's the real McCoy. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.